Welcome to Military Geek Channel. Have you ever wondered what would happen if a nuclear war broke out? Imagine the unthinkable for a moment. The world as we know it, irrevocably altered by the destructive power of nuclear weapons, a power so immense, it has the potential to cause global devastation on a scale we've never seen before. But this isn't about fear-mongering. Rather, it's about understanding the gravity of such a scenario and preparing for the unthinkable. Now let's explore what would happen in the aftermath of such an event. In the immediate aftermath of a nuclear explosion, we would experience an intense flash of light and heat. This flash, brighter than 1,000 suns, would instantly cause severe burns and ignite fires within a several-mile radius. Accompanying this flash would be a shockwave ripping through cities and towns, causing widespread destruction and loss of life. The shockwave would also lead to a sudden violent change in air pressure that could rupture eardrums or cause internal injuries. Structures would crumble, reduced to rubble in mere moments. This is the immediate devastation a nuclear explosion would bring. But the devastation doesn't end there. The explosion would also release a deadly rain of radioactive fallout, which could contaminate large areas and cause long-term health effects such as cancer. The fallout could also render areas uninhabitable for years, even decades. But the initial blast is just the beginning. Let's delve into the longer-term impacts. The long-term effects of a nuclear war would be far-reaching and devastating. Imagine a world masked in darkness for years, even decades. This is the reality of a nuclear winter, caused by massive amounts of soot and smoke released into the atmosphere, blocking out the sun's rays. The result? Global temperatures plummeting, leading to crop failures and food shortages. But the real horror story begins with radiation sickness. The symptoms are unrelenting: nausea, fatigue, hair loss, and an increased risk of cancer. Even if you survive the initial blast, the lingering radiation can cause long-term damage to your health. And let's not forget about genetic mutations. Radiation has the potential to alter human DNA, leading to birth defects and other genetic disorders in future generations. The effects of nuclear war aren't just immediate, they're generational. Beyond the physical toll, the societal implications are equally grim. We're talking about the collapse of social and economic systems. Infrastructure would crumble, and the resulting chaos could lead to widespread lawlessness. Trade routes would disintegrate and the global economy could collapse. With no electricity or transportation, entire communities would be isolated, struggling to rebuild from the ashes. In essence, a nuclear war wouldn't just be a catastrophe, it would be a paradigm shift, altering our way of life in ways we can barely comprehend. With such grim prospects, you might be wondering if there's anything we can do to protect ourselves. While the best way to survive a nuclear war is to prevent it from happening, there are still measures we can take to protect ourselves. In a world where the unthinkable becomes reality, survival strategies become paramount. One of the key ways to increase your chances of survival in a nuclear fallout scenario is by constructing fallout shelters. Building a fallout shelter doesn't necessarily mean digging a bunker in your backyard. It can be as simple as designating a space in your home, ideally in the basement or a room with no windows where you can take refuge. The goal here is to put as much material and distance between you and the radioactive fallout. Next, let's talk about stockpiling resources. Water, non-perishable food, and medical supplies should be your priority. Remember, you may need to remain in your shelter for at least 2 weeks following a nuclear event, so stockpile accordingly. Pack canned goods, dried fruits, and grains. As for water, the rule of thumb is 1 gallon per person per day. And don't forget about medical supplies. Speaking of medical supplies, familiarizing yourself with radiation sickness and its treatment is crucial. Radiation sickness can cause nausea, vomiting, loss of appetite, and fatigue. Over time, it can lead to more serious health issues like cancer. Having a basic understanding of these symptoms and how to alleviate them can be the difference between life and death. Emphasizing the importance of preparedness and knowledge is key. Knowledge is power, and in this scenario, it could very well be the power to save your life. Learn how to use a Geiger-Müller counter, which measures radiation levels, or understand how to calculate time, distance, and shielding, the 3 factors that can reduce your exposure to radiation. In the end, survival in a nuclear war would depend on preparation, knowledge, and a fair bit of luck. But remember, our focus should always be on preventing such a catastrophe from ever happening. Our survival doesn't just depend on how well we prepare for a nuclear event, but how effectively we can prevent one. Nuclear war is a terrifying prospect, but understanding the potential effects can help us prepare and hopefully prevent such a catastrophe. We've delved into the unimaginable destructive power of nuclear weapons, the immediate aftermath as well as the long-term impacts of a nuclear war. We've also explored survival strategies that could potentially save lives. Remember, knowledge is power. Stay informed, stay prepared, and let's work together to prevent such a disaster from ever happening.